government school teachers present today, Ms. Ritika Gupta and Ms. Uma Natraj. Today is the second session of the MargaDarshak Program for government school teachers from Sharda Educational Trust. As part of our endeavor to expose our mentees to the people, culture and educational system of other countries, today we have Ms. Ritika Gupta to talk about the Netherlands. The Netherlands, as the name suggests, is located below sea level and it's a fascinating country to visit and live. India has a long relationship with this Dutch country. When they came to India in the early 17th century and they stayed back for more than 2 centuries as traders and subsequently as rulers. So Ms. Ritika is an MBA in finance. She's a corporate finance professional working for a leading financial services company based at Utrecht. So correct me if I'm wrong in pronouncing Utrecht in Holland. The other name for Netherlands is also Holland. She has been living in this country for more than 3 years. And today she'll be talking to you about the people, the culture, and the education system of the Netherlands. Now over to you, Ritika.
Sure. Thank you for the introduction, Arvind sir.
Yeah.
And it's my honor to be part of this group. And I also appreciate your time and meeting all the teachers. So I've heard great stories about you, but it's great to hear more and see you in actually in live in the camera. So I'll be talking about Netherlands, and I would like to keep it more interactive. I'll just give a bit of my background. So I'm Ritika. I am originally from Uttar Pradesh, India. I studied there, lived there, and basically 3.5 years ago, I got married and I moved to Netherlands with my husband because he found a job there. And it was in the middle of the COVID when I moved here. So there was a lockdown, and it was a very difficult situation when you move to a country and not a lot of people are going out. And yeah, but overall, it has been super interesting to be part of this country, but also to see the culture. And maybe I'll share my screen to start, if that's okay. And so that I can show you the presentation. And I'm happy to share this presentation later on if you would like to have it. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So as you see, this is the flag of Netherlands. And basically, as Arvind sir said, a bit more. Just a second. Oh, yeah. So what does Netherlands actually mean? Netherlands. So basically, Netherlands means a low country, which, as rightly Arvind sir pointed out, it is under sea level. Or actually, most of the land is made on the sea and people are living on it. But before we talk about it more, I wanted to say that Netherlands is a very tiny little country. If you see this map of Europe, and it's actually equivalent to Haryana, state of Haryana. So it's that small. Basically, as we said that it was made on the sea. This is how it looked like in 13th century, where you see a lot of sea planks here, and eventually, slowly, Dutch people or Dutch water engineers started building on the water land slow, and finally you see something like this. So around 25% of the country is actually made on the sea. Now, probably you might ask that tomorrow, if there is a flood or global warming and the sea level increases, maybe we'll submerge. And to be very honest, that's true. But Dutch people, they're very smart. They are one of the best water engineers, and they are making it with that thought of future and already working on it. But before I move on to more how Dutch people have made this country, I also wanted to show you an example of Mumbai. And that's a great example because Mumbai was also at some point in 16th century used to look like in the left. And slowly, steadily, we reclaimed the land. So it's not only the Dutch, I would say, as Indians, we have also done a similar thing. And we are, so it's a great example to also see how now Mumbai looks like, which was a piece of islands in the left, if you see. So this is how basically Dutch people did. And the other thing, as I said, that tomorrow the water may come in and the country can be flooded, right? So they have made these bridges, if you see in the left one. What they do is when the water level increases, they close it. And whenever the water level inside the country or is very low, they open it for a proper flow of water. And they have made thousands of such bridges or dikes, they call it, all over the country. Different type of them, basically. And that's how they open it and close it. So in India also you have seen a lot of dams. Similarly, here there are also such dams, and at a very big level, basically. The other thing what they have done is, if you see the country, I have tried to put more pictures. Uh, there are a lot of canals, we call it. So they are not rivers, they are not big. They are man-made, very small streams of water, and Dutch people use it for transportation in the early days because it was a landlocked country and they wanted proper routes, and this is how the transportation was done in Netherlands. Which is quite interesting because through water you can really get things done easily. And not only water helped in the trade, but now it adds to the beauty of Netherlands as well. So if you really see, there is a house here just next to the canal, and trust me, this is not like general pictures. Most of the Netherlands looks like this, and every city, like if I walk 500 meters from my house, I will see a canal and houses around it. So it's very beautiful how they have made it, but also maintained it. None of the canals smells or gets dirty. They regularly ensure that it is cleaned and managed. So it's really beautiful. And I think when you do not have a concrete city, when you have water, it looks beautiful. So canals everywhere. The next thing is bridges. If you have canals, they also have little bridges. Sometimes they have a very little bridge where you'll just take the stairs in the left, you see, and you cross a little stream of water from one house to another. And sometimes there are big bridges where actually the cars and everything, like a highway, but these bridges open. And I have seen a lot of bridges open, and it's an amazing way they have done it. That they have red lights on both the sides, but also they have a red light here, if you see, for the boats. So the boats have to stop. When the red turns green, the bridge opens and then the boats cross. So it's a very good way how they have planned it and done it. And not only bridges, we also see a lot of windmills here. And they are everywhere. They are the old ways, earlier days that they used to generate energy through windmills and then grind the flour, wheat, or basically food. So that's how the windmills were used. And now windmills are tourist attractions. There are also a lot of them, but it's beautiful. Like most of the Netherlands is full of such beautiful windmills, which are not made of any metal, but actually wood and that material which is very close to earth or more, yeah, bioorganic, I would say, yes. And as I showed you that initially that the flag was red and blue, but Dutch team or the Dutch color is orange. So we call Netherlands people Dutch. This is how they are called basically. Like we Indians, we call them Dutch. So indeed, so this is very interesting that they wear orange, and Netherlands is also a kingdom. So there is a proper government here, but there is also a king here, and that king is more like symbolic. The king is not ruling here or has a lot of powers, but king is signing some documents or it's a symbol of kingdom, and that's why the Dutch royal family, their color is orange. So whenever there is a national day or something which is very patriotic, everyone wears orange. It's a weird color, but it looks beautiful when people wear orange everywhere. And that now I come back to the national day. Like we have a national day as Republic Day, Independence Day. They have King's Day, and what they do is it's on the day the king's birthday, and they just party all over Netherlands becomes like orange. They are on their boats wearing weird hats, drinking flags, colors, and they are just music. And the good part is it's so safe. You can move over, you can go anywhere, and people are just enjoying and they are just putting music, and the whole country becomes a very different country. And it's very exciting. I think this is one day. It is on 27th of April. It is also summer, and as you know that in Europe, uh, the winters are difficult than summers. So when here, when we see the sun or it's summer, people are happy. People just appreciate and love the sun. They spend out, they talk about weather because they know that in winters the sun sets at 4:30 and it will be dark, it will be cold, and it's a very different atmosphere then. So that's why they love summers. And in summers, the day is until 11 p.m. in the night. So people really go out, they work out, they have fun. So it's very exciting. Also, I would like to say that maybe if I don't know if you would have heard about Let's Go Dutch, or a lot of time we, with as a friends, or we also talked about Let's Go Dutch. And we what we do is we split the bill equally, right? When I came here, I understood that Dutch people are very particular about money. And if you go out with a friend and you have one drink and I had two drinks, they will send me a bill of my two drinks. They are very particular about how much they eat. They will pay only for that. So, and that's how all over the world we have started using word Dutch. Let's go Dutch, because Dutch people are very particular. And I have funny examples where I have heard stories where, let's say, yeah, a boyfriend and girlfriend, or two people who are together also split the bill, and people have got surprised, but they do. So it's funny, but that's how they operate. But if you also see the beauty of it, it makes sense, right? You're not taking anyone extra, you're not giving it. So I learned it, and it's sometimes nice, but sometimes it gets a bit too much, because I heard stories like, if you can't go to a Dutch person's house uninvited. If you ring the bell, they'll be annoyed that why are you here? You always take appointments, and these people keep calendar for 1 year. Like if they are going on a holiday, they have a plan for next 1 year. So it's very interesting how they are very particular. A lot of times I have to make plan with my Dutch office colleagues, and I have to say, hey, when are you free? And they say, oh, maybe in December on Saturday we can do this time. But this is true. Trust me, this is true. Some people do it very extreme, some not. And I think one challenge that I felt while coming here was, as an Indian, I never plan. And a lot of time, my colleague already took holidays on the important times and said, I'm taking a 3 week holiday. And I was telling my husband, hey, we have to plan a holiday because everything is, everyone has taken holidays now. And now I can't take holiday on the same day. And people used to do it for long time. So yeah, and now I've learned to start planning because we Indians don't plan. And Dutch are very particular about time. If they say 12, they will be there, they'll join at 12. They will never be late. If they are late, they will apologize, they will let you know. And I think a culture that we saw here is a lot of times that if you go to a Dutch person or you say at a party or you were invited, if you're not on time, they will eat the dinner. They'll not wait for you. But I think it can be rude. A lot of people see it rude. But a lot of people say, okay, what you say is what you believe. So I think as a person, I have grown a lot. I talk what I mean, and it is an important thing. Then people can trust you, or you know what when things are not good. So it's also Dutch way. Dutch people are very direct. They're not rude, but they can be straightforward. If they don't like it or they don't want to go out with you, they'll say, "Sorry, I don't think I will be go out." But as an Indian, I might say, "Oh yeah, let me check. I will let you know." Right? So it's interesting because I see that a lot. Moving on. So questions to you all. Do you see this first picture? Do you recall which movie it is?
I movie.
Hindi.
The first one. This
I
one where there are two.
Silsila?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
I.
So Silsila, actually, yeah, this was a very popular movie, and this was shot in Netherlands, and that's when the tulips got very popular. And in Netherlands, you see a lot of tulips in March and April, and it's so great. I thought maybe like a rose garden in Delhi, they will put some flowers, but there are actually fields of tulips. So when you stand or you actually take a plane, you will see different colors: orange, red, green, like a rainbow spread on the ground. And maybe you can Google it afterwards. It looks beautiful, and it's a nice time, and a lot of tourists and especially Indians would like to visit Netherlands during tulips. And that's what I realized after coming here, that Bollywood has a big impact on us. No one goes to places which are not shown by Bollywood. Like everyone wants to go to Switzerland, and anyone who comes to Netherlands talk about tulips. They'll not talk about something else because Bollywood movies probably didn't show that. So it's also interesting to see sometimes that the impact the Bollywood movies do to us and our dreams or what things we want to see in the world. So yeah, on the right you also see tulip. There is a graph, right? This so actually at some point tulips became a tradable commodity or a thing that you can give tulips, and the value of tulips become too much, and people started preserving tulips like diamonds. And there was a time when if you give that one tulip to the other person, you can buy a house. It happened in 16th century. It was called tulipomania, and it was a crazy time because the value of one bulb of it's called bulb of tulip was so valuable. And that's from here actually these Dutch people become very good traders also. And they are also they started trading with different things, like you might have heard of Dutch India Company. So that was also one of the biggest companies which traded with India. Another question, and not a question, but how would you identify a Dutch person in a crowd? And the funny thing is that they are one of the tallest people. And when I say tallest, it's a lot. Like an average height is 5'10" and 6 feet. While in India, we are relatively shorter, and but here normal Dutch people are very tall, and therefore sometimes when I go to let's say a theater or any place and I go to the washroom, the mirror is above and I have to maybe look like this to really see myself, or a lot of other things which are higher naturally. So it's also funny how to see that and by the way, Dutch were not always these tall. They became with time this tall. And probably this is because of, and there are theories that they cycle a lot and they eat cheese and bread, which is very like straightforward, not a lot of heavy food, which also contributed to their health. And also a lot of physical workout. They are very active in their routine. They are running, they have a schedule, they are planned, and they don't take stress. So that all contributes, right, to a healthy living. And that's what we have seen. And it's a surprising thing that if you see, an average Dutch height is 182 centimeter, which is quite a lot, basically. And in this picture, by the way, is the Prime Minister of Netherlands and Prime Minister of Ukraine. So maybe someone very similar to Modi ji. So actually the height difference is quite a lot. That's what I wanted to indicate using this picture. And then I was talking about cycles, right? Here, everyone cycles, and people love cycling. There are special roads, if you see to the left, there are special red colored roads for just cycling. And initially I thought, wow, it's so great and I can cycle here. But in the busy period, Dutch people cycle in a way because they're cycling from the beginning, as a kid. So they cycle so well, it becomes very tricky to actually, you're safer on road than on the bike lane or the cycle lane because they are very fast and they are just going and they don't stop. So it's funny. And to the right, you see the parking. You will find this parking everywhere in Netherlands. There are hundreds, thousands, lakhs of bikes. There are more, and sorry, I'm calling it bikes because cycles are called bikes here. And these cycles, there are more cycles in Netherlands than people. It's so crazy. And if you see, Dutch people are crazy and they are very down to earth. They can carry anything on the cycle. And you find different kind of cycles with the, if you see this lady in the left is taking actually furniture, and also to the right they are taking carrying sofa. And trust me, these are not pictures, I see it a lot of times myself when I'm looking down the window. There is a creative way how they have made their cycle, maybe a stand ahead, or maybe, yeah, three people sitting. So they do a lot of creative stuff with the cycling, which is very good for the environment, and government also supports it, and that's why they give it roads, good parking, and safety. So, and this is Dutch Prime Minister, the same person. The picture is blurred, but he also cycles to work. He doesn't use car. So actually, and by the way, me and my husband also use cycle since 3.5 years. We never got a car, and our plan is not to get a car. And we appreciate one thing in Netherlands is that it's such a good road, and why not cycle everywhere? So now we have started also going like long distances to cycle, because these Dutch people really go 70, 80 kilometers by cycle, and they plan their trip. Like if you go from Delhi to Mumbai, these people on their 3 weeks holiday actually cycle, let's say the distance Delhi to Mumbai, and they're happy about it because they focus a lot on health and they enjoy it. They make it a family thing, and the roads are good and the infrastructure are good. The kids are also on the bike. So Dutch people love kids. They are very family people. Normally, a Dutch person has 3, 4 kids, then it's very normal. And they find places on their cycle to keep kids. Sometimes there are two at the back. There is one in the front. Even from the little babies, like literally, they put even the small baby, and it's windy, it's cold. They just expose their kids to such environment. It's fascinating that sometimes I wonder that in India, the kid, you might try to protect it, right? It's cold outside. Here, even if it's raining, the kids are there with their proper clothes and they're sitting on the bike with the wind. And the weather is not easy here. So it's nice to see. And kids also bike. And the interesting thing is, if you see to the right, the girl doesn't have a pedal in the bike. So initially, the kids are told to sit on the bike and flap, like, move their legs. And that's how they learn balance. I never knew when I saw here that the little kids, that's how they are taught to cycle, and from the very beginning. So, like, we have walkers and other things. The walker for the kids is like this. And the other thing Dutch people are fascinated about is cheese. And there's a lot of cheese. And when I came here, I tried cheese. It tasted weird. But you have to develop the taste, because what we are having in India, I realized, is nothing but a processed cream or something else which they are making, Amul is making for you to just taste. It tastes tasty. It is tasty, and you eat it more. But actually, the real cheese is here, where it has a very different flavor. It's natural. It's a very different taste. Maybe initially Indians or us, we won't like it, but you have to develop a taste. But it's interesting to see that they have hundreds of variety of cheese, and they keep it, and it becomes older. So there is a young cheese, there is an old cheese. They keep it longer. So it's interesting how they do it. And when talking about cheese, you might have understood what these Dutch people eat. They are very straightforward. No frills and fancy. Their breakfast, their lunch, their dinner is always bread with cheese. And it's strange, but I don't know how they manage with their nutrition. They have fruits and vegetables, but they don't cook a lot. So then they don't cook. Of course, they don't know the spices like we Indians do, and but they keep the bread simple. Their bread is quite interesting. It's not like how we have in India. It's a bit more processed in India. Here the bread is more grain, more like a chapati, right? Where it's more nutritious, basically. That's how I would like to compare. So it's interesting that they keep their food very limited. And I remember that when I joined office and we had to have lunch in office, some people were. I used to take a bowl of salad, soup, and sandwich, and then I'm sitting with a Dutch person who is double my size. He's sitting with a sandwich with just cheese and one egg, and I'm like, "Is it enough for you? And will you only eat this?" And sometimes I was so conscious, but now I'm used to that. Yeah, these Dutch people just eat this, so it's okay. The other thing is that during the World War, the extreme climate, they had a lot of potatoes. So because potatoes are easy to preserve, they don't get spoiled. So they had preserved a lot of potato, and therefore the country they eat a lot of potato and potato dishes. So they have fries, all kind of fries, and they are very tasty. Like my parents, when they came here and tried the fries here, they said it's different. It's not like finger chips in India. It tastes different. And also Dutch people also make potato soup. My mom was surprised. Is there a thing called potato soup? But in the right, you actually see a potato soup. So these people are really creative with meat, of course, but making a lot of potato. That after a while you are like, stop bread. When I go back to India, I said I'll not eat bread, cheese, and potato. I don't want to even. I don't want to see it. So yeah, it's interesting. And we are almost half an hour. I've talked about the Dutch culture. I'll start to just give you a quick brief so that you all can also then ask questions. But to be very honest, I try to simplify the Dutch education structure, but it's a bit more complicated. So I'll just mention some important things which is interesting. One is that there is a compulsory attendance. So until and unless you can really prove or have a proper letter that there is this occasion, you cannot take leaves. Or you don't feel like, and your kid is not feeling that great, it's not like you don't send the kid to school. You have to provide a proper document for that. And what this promotes is more attendance. While they are understanding, and they want to take care of it, but they want to make it compulsory so that people don't take extra holidays. And that's why there are particular strict school holidays, and that time everyone is going on holidays and things are very expensive. Uh, but it's interesting to see that the student holiday time is different. The other thing is cost of schooling. So the costs are paid by the government. The parents pay, let's say, for their some trips, some additional food, but everything is financed by the government. So parents do not have to pay for the school fee. And there are no uniforms at all. So there is no concept of uniforms. Wear whatever. But at the same time, I would like to say that if you compare it with certain parts of India, I'm from North, where sometimes there is a more focus given on the clothes, not the simplicity. But in Netherlands, it's very simple. Like people will just wear anything and just step out. They don't have to do the makeup or just get heels or something. They're very practical. They know it might rain. They'll put the same jacket and they'll go out. It's very simple, and that's why the no uniform culture also works because no one is trying to show off their kids and things like that. So it becomes a simplistic approach, basically. Uh, and a bit more about primary. So Dutch education is divided into two parts: primary education and secondary education. So it's very similar that the children start from the age of 5. Initially, for 8 years, they have the primary education, which is like they are taught basic subjects: Dutch, spelling, grammar, history, geography, physical education. But after that, and that's interesting because until that initial 8 years for a kid, everything is similar, basic subjects. But after that eighth grade, when they reach here, end of primary education, there is a test that every child has to give. And also the teacher who has been monitoring that kid over the years also give a recommendation. And basically this exam and the recommendation of the teacher actually uh, advises the kid which line you see three orange bars, right? Which line a kid should choose. One is pre-vocational. I'll come to that later. But these three categories, to simplify, means that let's say I'm a more creative person and I'm not focused on studies or able to learn a lot, but maybe I am more creative on art. So my exam and my teacher will identify that and recommend me to do that part, that studies, rather than being a pressure or person. So they identify the skill of the student, and then I advise the student to choose all of those three fields. This way, what happens is that the children are able to naturally switch to a role or next step of education which are appropriate for them at that moment, and then they keep learning. But however, if after going to a level, a creative side, I thought, no, I want to maybe switch to the other side, there is always an option. But they don't want to create pressure for every child in the beginning that everyone has to do mathematics or science at that level, but maybe someone just wants to learn carpentry or some technical work. And this is also good here because the minimum salary is quite high, and everyone gets a job. So this helps, and no one has a pressure of studying or knowing everything. There's no lot of competition. It's more about what are your strengths and working on it or learning what you like concept. So secondary education, as I said, that after giving that exam, students who are more in the vocational or extracurricular things can have the first category, which is VMBO, which is about different kind of occupations they prepare for you. Then the second category, again, it's like a high school. So these are all like after ninth or 10th, what you do, right? So after ninth and 10th class, basically children are not pushed to do any particular subject. They can choose how much do they want to become a doctor and do the research industry university after passing the test or not. So I'll stop for a while because this is a bit complicated. But just to see my next slide. Oh yes, and when children complete this secondary education, which is on the orange, parents hang their bags, school bags, on the flag outside their house, and that's how they show that my child has passed. It's weird because sometimes a child who hasn't passed can feel the pressure, but this is how you see. Like you pass a house and you see, oh, this kid in this house has passed. So that's how you see it. And I think that is it, but probably giving you all some time to ask questions.
In every house they have a flag, ma'am?
No, not necessarily, but they put it sometimes to put the back. Or they hang it somehow in the without the flag, just this pole. A lot of people have this pole, or sometimes they do creative stuff. They just hang it on the side of the window, but they show it like questions.
Instead of cycle, they use bike, ma'am?
Yes.
They use a car, and I saw some pictures, I saw some cars.
Sorry?
I saw some cars in the pictures. Instead of cycle, they use bikes.
Yes, so they use the cycle is called bike here. Actually, yeah. But there are cars, so it's not like there are no cars at all. But what they are doing is they're making thin lanes for the cars and probably adding more taxes. So you can still use car because maybe for medical reasons or some other reasons people need cars. But they're trying to limit it, and they're making wider roads for cycle. And it's amazing that all the bridges and in a whole country you can go anywhere by cycle. And when you see the Google Maps, sometimes you might see how do you walk to a certain destination or by car. In Netherlands, you see cycle, and there is always a particular cycle route. They will never mix it up with the car highway. So next to the highway, there is always a cycle lane also, which is safe, and you can ride your cycle and go to another city.
All the parents send their children to free costing school?
No, that's a good question. Basically, especially as Indians, sometimes because these schools, these are more like public schools, let's say, and they are language is Dutch and English, and a lot of time there are also international schools in the country, which are definitely very very expensive. But because let's say if someone has come with their children at an age of 10 years old, the child cannot learn the language so quickly. So they also go to international schools. And there also they try to teach Dutch, the language here. But there are international schools and quite many where you see similar curriculum, but the but the fees is high basically.
Okay, if there are no more questions, so for me, this session has been extremely informative. Let me tell you that, Ritika. Thanks a lot for sharing a lot of insights about the country. So, as I mentioned, I visited this country as a tourist way back in 2006, but the way you explained, perhaps I was not aware about a lot of things that you talked about. Especially cycling as a way of life, about the cheese, about the Orange Festival that you mentioned, and also about the education system and the flags, and the school bags and the flags. So a lot of informative things were shared with us. I'm sure all the teachers will agree with me. This has been like an eye opener. Thank you so much, Ritika, for taking time out from your busy schedule. Umaji, you want to add some few words because you have been sending a lot of messages during the course. So you may say a few words to thank Ritika.
Thank you, Ritika. We had a great time listening to you about Netherlands. In fact, we are tempted to visit Europe. I think I'll make it in my bucket list.
Yeah, sure.
It was wonderful listening to you. Thank you for all the efforts you have taken, and the presentations, the images, everything was superb.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and also just last thing that Dutch people are also amazing English speakers.
Yeah.
So after coming here, I never struggled with the language. If you travel any other country in Netherlands, you will find it very difficult. So maybe a tip for you that here and people are very polite, like not like French people who want you to speak their language. Here they're so nice that they switch. If they see that you are not able to speak, they switch to English and not making you feel, oh, you are an outsider, why are you here? And that's why probably when I'm talking about Netherlands, I want to maybe take away the good things. Of course there are bad things, and that's why I'm traveling to learn basically and share the knowledge. But yeah, nothing is perfect, and I think I still miss India. And I didn't also in my comments don't I just want to say I miss India, and India is very important to me. But I'm just also was not trying to demean India in some way. I was more trying to say that probably there are some differences and how we see those differences.
Yeah.
But thank you for your time. Yes.
Yeah, just to add what Umaji said, the presentation was fantastic. I would rate it 6 on 5, not 5 on 5. Fantastic presentation. I think this could be like an encyclopedia for, especially for Indians who wish to know more about Netherlands or who wish to visit with Netherlands in the future. Thank you so much, Ritika.